Ta-dum. All right, welcome everyone. It is Wednesday. It is 4:30 p.m. Central Time. It is office hours here on the Academy. Hope you guys can hear me okay. Have a little bit hard time verifying that myself at the moment, but feel free to drop a little note in the chat if the audio is coming through nicely. Would be much appreciated. And speaking of the chat, I should probably open it up in a separate window so I can keep an eye on it. Would make things a little bit simpler, I think. All right. So, as you probably notice, I'm alone today. Andrew is on a well-deserved vacation, enjoying his time in a little bit warmer climate than Chicago. So if you're out there, Andrew, enjoy your vacation, and I'll see you guys. See you back next Wednesday again. So that'll be good. All right. I do not see any comments just yet in the chat. So let me pull up my trustworthy phone and see if I can verify audio coming in. It's 4:30 p.m. Central Time. It is office. And yes, it worked. So if I can hear myself from my phone, I take that the audio is absolutely working. And thank you there. I just got a comment, a confirmation in the chat. I appreciate that. But now it's time for some updates. I can see Mike Terrell join as well. Thank you for that. But let's do a little bit of demo time. Da, 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 da. And there we are. So one thing to start off with, an issue that has been fixed. Mr. Gabe Frost with Microsoft reached out the day before yesterday regarding an issue on the update catalog now for Patch Tuesday. They fixed that fairly quickly. And there was a reply just a little bit later to this post where they confirmed that the fix has been rolled out. And earlier today, I just did a test sync in one of my ConfigMgr servers, and sure enough, the catalog synced nicely. So glad to see that that one has been resolved. Good stuff. Then, of course, a friendly reminder for our friends over at MMS. It is not too late to submit a session. Deadline has been postponed to January 1st. In the earlier updates, it was December, but obviously we are way into December now. But if you have any idea of a session, if you're interested in speaking in one of the greatest conferences you can ever find, highly recommend to submit a session. It's a very friendly community, and I would love to see you there. So if you have an idea, please submit it. Then a friendly update. This was something that Mike Terrell actually made me aware of earlier today also. But if you upgrade your site server to 2409 in your lab, in your QA, in your test environments, in your pre-prod environments, no production yet, you will find that CM Pivot will not work reliably if you try to run it on either a Server 2016 or a Server 2019 server. Seems to work okay with when running it on a Windows 10 or Windows 11 client, the ConfigMgr console, but the ConfigMgr team is aware of this, and there is supposed to be a fix included in the slow ring update that usually isn't too far behind of the early ring. So just be aware of that, and yeah, there's that. Another feature that I stumbled across that made me smile was that in my tenant, in my Intune tenant, I finally got enrolled into the new device inventory. So if I go over to my devices here, I'm going to click Windows Devices just to make the left screen a little bit shorter. But in the configuration profile, now when you create a new policy, wait patiently for it to actually load the screen. you will see that one of the types that you can pick is now the properties catalog. And this is just a selection of things that you want to inventory. So I happened to create one real quick the other day, device inventory test 1, on which I promptly selected absolutely everything I could in the properties. So if I check the settings on this one, you can see that I have all of these selected. I believe it was 90 some policies in total. The only thing I really missed was to have free disk space in the logical drive. I'm so used to have that here from my ConfigMgr days. It just makes sense to have it in the same view. But yeah, of course, you can always go back to a device and look into regular hardware inventory, and then you will find free disk space there. But once you have this policy deployed, and I deployed it to my pilot machines and also a larger group of test machines, and if I go to one of those devices now, for example, my HP device, I'm going to search for HP, my trustworthy Firefly, I now have the Resource Explorer, and I can start to look into these different views here. I have, sort of, for example, logical drive, showing information about that disk. And here we are. And that's where I was missing the free space. And yes, I know. Thank you for reminding me, Twitter. In the hardware node, yes, you do have free disk space. I just thought it would be very nice to have it in a single view here, because I can think in myself down the road to want to script against this, want to run reports against this, try to come out with creative solutions. But yeah, we'll see what happens down the road. But it's up and working. The reports are working now. They didn't initially, but now they are. So very, very happy to see this. And by now, this should be rolled out pretty much everywhere. And this is part of the Intune core features. There is no additional licensing related to this one. And if you want to learn a little bit more about what's going on under the scenes, I highly recommend to read Rudy's blog. It was published just a little while ago, and basically showing what's under the hoods. So I'll put this link, as always, under the description in the video here on YouTube, also up on our Academy. But this is a deep dive into what's exactly going on behind the scenes, the new sync engine for this, and yeah, this is cool stuff. Cool stuff. Then there was a shout out from Mr. Adam Gross on Twitter. And he's basically reaching out, asking for feedback. Okay, what is it that is preventing you from going cloud native, meaning Entra ID only, Intune managed only? What is it that keeps you hyperjoined? What are your blockers? And you can't see this on the screen here because I'm not logged into Twitter, but there are a ton of replies already. So please find Adam and please give your comments to this blog or to this post, not blog. And it's a really good thread so far to see what people are commenting on there. So highly recommend that. Then once again, Mr. Rudy here, this time on the Patch My PC blog, because, well, he works for Patch My PC now. So you see a lot of his posts showing up there as well. Not the same post, but a lot of posts. Really good post explaining a little bit how the Intune management extension is protecting itself for being uninstalled. It was actually just a fun read to see how it actually works and why things are a certain way. So good stuff, good read. I stumbled across. And then just because I happen to like lab hardware, I always have, I just stumbled across this from Trond, fellow MVP that likes a lot of labs, but this is a mini lab that he put together, combining 2Ps with a mini Mac. I just thought it was cool. Of course, it's not exactly free, but it's not $1 million either. So I thought it was cool and worth sharing. Then I stumbled across from Jonathan over at our friends at System Center Dudes. He published what I so far have seen is the best step-by-step guide for Autopatch. And it's recently updated too with the recent changes that has been in both Intune and Autopatch regarding updates. So if you haven't set up Autopatch or just want to have a run through of it, great article, highly recommended. And then I stumbled across from Martin Bengtsson over in Denmark. He put together a little guide on, well, how to control the switching to the new Outlook. I have not yet myself warmed up completely to it, but I'm trying. Okay, it's a journey, but this is how you can control it. Then I stumbled across a extremely shiny blog post, one that some of the Intune folks actually ended up retweeting. I saw that this week, but Peter figured out a way to do automation when you need to offboard a user real quick. So basically, single click, you have a user, they did not behave, you need to offboard them very, very quickly. Here is the automation work around it. Haven't had a chance to play around with it yet, but I will. It sounds very, very interesting to have an automation done for that. So I noticed it's been a request for many folks to have that available directly in the Intune tenant, but so far a community solution is the closest one we have. So I recommend to look into that one. And let's see, what else? Oh yeah. After a few requests, I was finally able to get my hands on a demo environment for Microsoft Security Copilot. And there is a plugin or skill for Intune to it. So once you have that set up and running in your Intune tenant, you can have that one integrated with Copilot there. And that allows you to ask questions about machines that you have in your environment. So for example, show me the list of active devices. And there were some other prompts I was playing around with also. If there is anything you really would like for me to test out in this environment, because it's not for everyone to simply go ahead and buy security for Copilot, not for a lab at least, it's fairly expensive. But this was a demo tenant that some folks from Microsoft were willing to share with me, so I'm very grateful for that. Thank you so much. But I'll be happy to demo and test anything you would like me to test. So let me know, and I'll be happy to do so. That was all I had in the news section. Do you guys have any questions, comments, anything? I see there was one question coming in, how to package the ConfigMgr client app on Intune. I haven't done it in a while, but back before Autopilot had the integration to fully install the ConfigMgr client as part of the Autopilot enrollment, meaning if I go to my devices here, an enrollment. So this were the co-management settings. And this one allows you to install the client from a cloud management gateway during Autopilot enrollment when you set that part up. This one is not deployed at the moment, but it will be. So that one is configured. Before that, we had to create Win32 apps for it. Forgot where I saw the guide the last time. It might have been Anoop. See if I can find that one. Just a second. Yeah, it was Anoop. So this is obviously obsolete for Autopilot devices. But I figured if you want to play around with the settings for the app and the detection method, this post can be useful, because he was using an app for this. Because there was a time where the Autopilot integration had, as we call it, room for improvement, but Microsoft finally fixed that. So it also detects the right authority during the enrollment instead of flip-flopping back and forth for this. We actually had Danny join us in one of the early office hours explaining what they changed. So if you go up to our office hours and search for Danny, you actually get a 10-minute presentation on why they made a change for the client. But maybe something like this. I'll put this link in the chat or in the description. So maybe something like this. Patrick was asking regarding Autopatch. Basically, if we know if it ever comes to education A3 license. I'd like to say there was an update for that, but let me double check. No. Let me bring up the post here. If you read this one here, it clearly says at the moment A3 and A5 do not have access to all the Autopilot features. And I haven't heard if there is an ETA or when that one is changing. Sure enough, this post is about a month and a half. But if anyone knew anything or know anything, please let me know in the chat, and I'll be happy to share the information. But for now, it seems there hasn't been any change to it. Yeah, and I concur with your comment there, Patrick. It is kind of sad that this hasn't been available yet. So, yeah. All right. Any other questions or comments for that matter? So while we're waiting for comments, just a friendly reminder, you do have an option of pre-submitting comments on our community forum here on the Academy. You have to log in to be able to access it, but it's free to access, and we have topics in pretty much any given area, Intune, ConfigMgr, and others. So if you do have any questions, let us know. And also a friendly reminder that on December 20, me and Andrew will be hosting a community event around software updates, or technical drill-down on troubleshooting software updates, as well as moving the workload from ConfigMgr to Intune in terms of software updates, some tips and tricks there. So hoping you will join that one. All right. Any other questions? All right, there is a question coming in from Amir. Hi there. We had our Autopilot profile set up to make use your local admin to the device when we started our pilot. Later, then we switched to the standard user, which worked fine. Let's see. I think I have to summarize this. This came in 3 different threads. Give me a second. Moments like this, I wish I had Andrew here. He's a master in reading these multi-thread questions coming in. All right, long story short, try to summarize this. What is this difference when using Windows Update settings in Intune and the Autopatch solution? To make a long story short, when you configure Windows updates manually, you have control of every aspect, every policy, every update ring that you set up, every group membership, etc. When you configure update rings through Autopatch, you allow Autopatch to do a lot of that configuration for you, to basically help you define the rings, help you configure the policies, and down the road also help leverage telemetry to make sense on when not to patch on your devices. But you have a little bit less control, but at the other hand, you don't have to manage so much of the settings. So it's a managed service. It does have its own license requirements in terms of Windows, but other than that, it's fairly straightforward to set up, and I shared that guide earlier from Jonathan on how to get it going. And the beautiful thing is you can test this out because you don't have to enroll all your devices to Autopatch. You can still have a subset of your devices being part of it and see how it works compared to, doing your update rings manually, or other options is to import them from the community solutions that are around updates. So this is obviously from the Open Intune Baseline project, a project that has ton of pre-made configurations basically built to give you a jump start on Intune setups. So if you're starting from scratch and you want something to begin with, that particular project is pretty cool. We have showcased it a few times here on the Academy, but it's a GitHub project where you can, download and import these different management policies or configuration profiles, everything from settings catalogs to others. And you don't do it in the GUI. There's community extension or framework is intended to be done through the Intune Manager toolset. So if I go here, and we've shown this a few times, but Intune Management 398 is the latest. So this is where you would go to your settings catalog, for example, and you would have an import, specify a folder, in this case where I have downloaded of that Open Intune baseline, and then you simply select all the configurations that you would like to have, and then you hit import, and then will show up in your tenant. Love the naming standards, good starting point for people that are new into Intune but still want to have something to start with. So really good solution. For the follow-up comment there regarding making users a local admin, that will be part of the basically the Windows LAPS setup, typically, if that's the query or question. All right. Let's see what else. There was a question from Sahid regarding, please explain Intune device OU dynamic rule. That is, let's see here. I think that is still missing. That attribute is not collected unless I missed the memo. I have seen customers scripting towards it, leveraging script and graph to figure out the right information, compare it to local information, and then use that to generate membership of a group. But not something I've seen recently directly in the platform. Not for OUs. All right, let's see. Follow-up question from Amir: how to troubleshoot Autopatch? Many of the, obviously there's not much to troubleshoot on the server side in the Autopatch, but it's still the Windows Update client that deals with updates. You would troubleshoot that as you would any type of update from Intune, if that was the question. We have shared a few times here on the office hours. There was a technical takeoff back in either 2022 or 2023. I remember blogging about it because it turned out to be one of my favorite sessions. Let's see if it was this one. Nope. Let's try the 2023 one. Yes, troubleshooting Windows updates. This one was a brilliant session. The only thing that happened here on technical takeoff links is they have removed the video from it, which is annoying. It was right here before. But I've been able to find them on the Windows IT Pro YouTube page. So basically go to YouTube. And that's the one. Recognize the engineer. So this is from the technical takeoff. So I'll put this link in the chat where you actually can see the session. But if you haven't seen this one, this is a brilliant troubleshooting session around software updates from Intune, a little bit what's going on behind the scenes, and also showcasing some tools that I wasn't aware of prior to watching this one. So highly recommend watching it. So it's on the Windows IT Pro channel. All right. Matt is asking, are we doing any ConfigMgr this year? Yes, we are. We're going to start on Christmas Day. That one is most likely going to be pre-recorded. But the other ones we're planning on is just do as we go between from Christmas and the next Christmas Day and the next 11 days. So our 12 days of Christmas, we call it ConfigMgr. I actually stumbled across earlier today. You know how OneDrive shows you like the photos of the day and then like several years back, and apparently on December 11 in 2019 we did one of our first ConfigMgr videos. This was the one. Me and Amy, we'd have our very first ConfigMgr tree, the same tree as I have here next to me, still alive and kicking. I'm not sure why it closed that image because it was not a video, but this was the one, Carlo joining in the middle, and we're going to do more of those this year. So looking forward to that one. All right. Oh, let's see what else. All right, any other questions, comments? Still have 26 minutes to go. As long as there are questions coming in. Mm-hmm. Was a question on how to troubleshoot BitLocker policy on clients coming in here on YouTube. Microsoft actually does have a really good guide on how to do that from the client side. Obviously, you have encryption reports, etc. in Intune, but since the question was from the client, there actually is a really good guide. So just search for Troubleshooting BitLocker and throw in a Microsoft.com site to it. If I can spell to Microsoft, it would be great. This one, Troubleshooting BitLocker policies from the client side. You can see I've been clicking on this one before. But this guide here is a brilliant walkthrough of everything that you need to expect, what log files to log into, and it's just a great guide on how to troubleshoot BitLocker. So beautiful. It's one of the best guides I've seen. This one, the software update troubleshooting and the ConfigMgr application troubleshooting, those are the three best troubleshooting guides I stumbled across on Microsoft Learn. So hats off to whoever wrote them. 3 contributors here. See what those are. All right. Don't recognize the names, but whoever you are, thank you. Very good. All right. Follow-up comment regarding LAPS. Basically a comment that says we are still using the community solution LeanLAPS and haven't switched to Windows Labs yet. I would highly recommend to evaluate the Windows Labs because the current release, the way it's shaped and formed in Intune management, and even good policy for that matter, it's downright fantastic. It's real good. And the new agent is baked into every Windows version there is. So you don't need to have a third-party solution for it, in my opinion. It's really good, the new one, or updated one. There was a follow-up comment regarding dealing with local group assignments during the Autopilot account phase. Can't say I played around with that much, so I don't really know. But I mean, for that specific question regarding generating local accounts during an Autopilot enrollment, please go ahead and drop a question here in the Academy, and me and Andrew will look into this, because Andrew will be back tomorrow from his vacation. I'm sure he wants nothing but play around with some Autopilot stuff. Let's see. Question coming in on Twitter from Patrick. So if you're using Autopilot and one of your clients gets corrupt and can't boot into Windows, so assuming that's just a scenario at that point. It's quite rare that a client gets so bad that the PC gets corrupt. Usually, if Autopilot itself decides to have a small meltdown, often you can reboot the device and it will try to come back where it left off. But I've certainly seen scenarios where a deployment from a vendor wasn't perfect, or whatever they shipped with the device was not ideal at all. You try to do reset and they forgot to add in drivers to WinRE, so the reset just explodes on you. And at that point, you have a device that is not happy. I mean, I've saved this. We talked about this many times here on the office hours. No matter how many or how much of Autopilot you're leveraging, where you work with a vendor and they deploy devices and ship to you, I strongly recommend every single organization to still have some imaging capability in-house for scenarios when stuff breaks down. You don't want to have to ship the device back to the vendor. They will redeploy one again and ship it back to you, or something breaks down and you need to recover it quickly. I recommend to have something around. You may not use it as much as you used to. You may not image every device anymore, but keep something around. If you're concerned about your good old MDT deployment being deprecated or ConfigMgr deployments being too complex, make it simpler. Just have something that allows you to just put down a plain Windows image, the fully secured, updated with the drivers it needs, so that you can continue to manage that device and have it enrolled through Autopilot or through Intune. Many of the organizations we work with right now, that is a key deployment scenario. They leverage an on-premise deployment solution, but they deploy devices into an Autopilot state. And that is not too hard to accomplish. It's just that ConfigMgr doesn't have a ready-made sequence for it that does all the work. You have to do a little bit of customizations, but it's not rocket science either. It can be done. So, yeah, my 2 cents on the topic. Patrick had a follow-up comment about it being a 2-part. Well, I only got 1 part. Let's see. You may have to submit that one again, because I only got 1 part of it. Then there was a follow-up comment while waiting for that from Ami regarding local accounts. In this case, it was actually an Entra account they wanted to have enabled to the local administrators group. That part we typically use account protection for. So here I have an example where, well, this is a group being added, but the same concept of having someone being added automatically to the administrators group. And if I actually go to the right setting, it would be great. Try this again. So this one here, where we have the admin group selected, and we have, in this case, a group, but you can see it's a user and or group being added. So, and that user will be added in. I like this option better than the old CSPs that were available, the custom policies, because they were so finicky. This one, I think, is a better option to dealing with adding someone as a local admin in Intune. All right, there's a question coming in on YouTube. Let's see. Can you provide any documents on the company portal sync issues? I know Rudy did something related to that recently. Might not have been sync issues, but it was something. No, there was more of a blog post explaining the functionality in the company app portal, not so much with any sync issues. I don't remember anything from the top of my head seeing, at least not something official. No, nothing on that one. Any other questions? So follow-up comment regarding the making sure the first user is an admin that enrolls the device, that is a setting in the Autopilot profile. So if you go here, enrollment and the traditional deployment profile, this would be the scenario where the first user will become an administrator if you set this one. Otherwise, it's going to be a standard user, regular user. But this one still works if you have this one policy. I have not seen this one failing. So double check that your profile has this setting, and this is the profile that is actually assigned to the device. So basically, it's the device in that group. I will start there, because that is the default behavior when this one is set. So a follow-up comment here is that you do have a profile that looks like this, but the user becomes a normal user anyway. I have not seen that happening. The only thing I can think of is that you have multiple profiles assigned to the same group and the machine gets confused somehow. Otherwise, no, I have not seen this not working. But if anyone has any ideas or comments, by all means, let us know, and I'll be happy to share it here in the chat or in the session. But I can do a quick test until next week. Let's see if I can reproduce it. So test Autopilot with local admin set in profile. All right. Let's see, there's a comment from Sahid on YouTube. Please explain the PXE-boot PowerShell script. I'm assuming you refer to the PXE-boot troubleshooting PowerShell script. That's just a script that 2Point Software made available to their customers, but it happened to work with any PXE server because PXE is still PXE. So it was Andreas that put this one together a while back, but there is a PXE test script that you can run, and it fakes a PXE boot. So if I go to a client and run that script that is up and running in Windows, it will pretend to do a PXE boot, and it will show you the messages it receives with the scope details from that message. It's a pretty clever PowerShell script, but the trick here is to make sure that you have at least 2 messages coming back. One message is going to be a message which give you the IP address, and this is going to come from your DHCP server. And then you're going to get the PXE information. In this case, an iPXE configuration is going to come from your iPXE server. So that one won't contain an IP address. It contains the info that is needed for to actually do a boot. So if you have clients in locations where PXE isn't working, but it works in other locations, obviously the PXE server itself is probably configured right. And it's usually someone from the network group that has fat-fingered something. But this is a really good script to run and compare if you have a working location with a non-working location. Just run this and see what it comes back with. So quite clever little script to assist with troubleshooting. Next step after this would basically be to do a network trace. And of course, Mike is commenting on iPixie here, but we are slightly biased against that solution. It happened to be a really, really good Pixie server. But yeah, that's how you can troubleshoot it. All right, any other questions or comments? We still have a solid 7 minutes left. I do not see any other questions. I will wait a little bit to see if anyone shows up. I did get a question from Mike. How are all the new drives holding up? They are holding up very nice. And to give some context, I can share you this. Let's see if I can go back to the regular screen here. Here we go. It's a little bit hard to see, but this is a 4 terabyte Samsung disk. I bought 3 of them. Under heavy load, they disconnect. So if I fire up like 30 VMs on the disk, after an hour or so, the disk just disappears from Windows. And I have returned a few of them to Samsung, get them back, it doesn't help. Try different controllers, doesn't help. But eventually, I switch over to the much slower WD Reds. I bought a few of those. They haven't crashed a single time, no matter what load I put to them. So far it's looking good. And this is basically an enterprise-grade disk. I reached out to Twitter a while back asking for recommendations on enterprise-grade SSDs, and I put them in the workstation I was having trouble with, and the problem just went away. Next step is I'm going to test one of the Microns, because I was recommended one of those as well. I guess it's crucial that drives them or builds them, but they are enterprise-grade SSDs also. So in this case, I basically exchanged performance for stability. And so far, they're actually quick enough for what I needed them to do. I need to be able to run tons of client VMs on them at the same time without them disconnecting from my host, which was really annoying. So, short answer, these new drives holding up nicely, WD Red. Yeah. I think I have to go through the lovely support with Samsung again to have these drives refunded, because they are not working as expected in any of my machines. And I have many machines. There was a follow-up comment clarification on, again, the Autopilot scenario where the first user doesn't become an admin. Apparently there was a support case registered, and Microsoft came back and said it was because of what But that might have been a different question. Oh, so does your Autopilot devices log in the user automatically? Yes, I have it set up that way. It does. Sorry, not log in automatically, populate the user automatically. I still need to provide the password. So when pre-staging devices and adding them in or importing them, you can target which user is supposed to have them. If you don't do that, it's going to prompt for both username and password. But if you do put in the username earlier into side of things, then it will prompt for the password only. And it's going to show you the username and you just type in the password. Let's see. Sahid is asking, any script to troubleshoot a corrupt Windows user profile or Windows user profile? Not really. I know you can use useMD to clean them, migrate them over to a new profile, but not how to troubleshoot a corrupt one. I don't remember seeing one. All right. Any final questions? Follow-up comment regarding the corrupt profiles. Please provide documentation. I don't know of any guide on the top of my head. It is not too hard to run the scan state tool and snatch just a single profile and have it backed up somewhere so you can get data out of it if it's being corrupt, and then use load state to populate again. I think one of these may have a few commands. Thinking of it. See if this one is up and running. 2521. No, not that one. Let me snatch it from here instead. No, that is not the right one. This one, perhaps. If this one decides to boot. Might take a little bit too long, but long story short, if you guys go to the installation folder of the ADK, there we go. You can download those files to a folder on the device, and scanstate.exe drives the backup. of profiles. You can use command lines to tell it which profile, and load state can create a new one. So if I wanted to do a backup of a specific profile, I would do something like this, where I would specify which profile I want and where to put it. And you can leverage this one to get most data out of the profile. That's the only thing I can think of at the moment. So yeah, maybe that. All right. That was the last question of the day, everyone. I just realized I didn't share my screen showing that. I was not so smart. That's the command line I wanted to show. Didn't have Andrew here to remind me to share my screen. That's what happens. But this was the command line I wanted to show on that device to force it to run a backup of scan state, and then the equivalent load state command. But anywho, thank you all for watching, and I hope to see you again next Wednesday. And Andrew should be back in business as well. So enjoy your week, everyone. Thank you.